Let me ask you a question. If you wanted to get better at golf, what would you practice? Would you go to the driving range? Would you just hit your driver? Would you work on your swing? Would you try to hit the ball farther? Would you try to fix that slice? Maybe you'd get a lesson. Maybe you'd buy a new club. Maybe you'd spend an hour just hitting 7-irons. And there's nothing wrong with any of that, but here's what I want you to think about. What if you could start shooting lower scores without making your swing dramatically different? What if you could improve your golf without hitting the ball 20 yards farther? What if you could actually get better by learning what to do with the shots you're already hitting? Because here's the reality. You're not going to hit every green. You're not going to hit every fairway. You're not going to hit every approach perfectly. You're going to miss. You're going to hit bad shots. And you're going to end up around the green a lot. And when that happens, you have a choice. You can look at the shot and think, well, I messed up. Or you can think, okay, how do I turn this into the best score possible? And that's why I think the short game matters way more than most beginners realize. Because the short game isn't just about chipping. It's not just about putting. It's not just about getting better around the green. The short game teaches you something much bigger. It teaches you how to finish the hole. And if you're trying to get better at golf, that's a skill you can't ignore. The golf game you think you're playing, when you're new to golf, I think you naturally believe the game works like this. You hit a good drive, then you hit a good iron shot, then you make a putt, and that's how you make par. It seems logical. And when you watch golf on TV, that's what you're basically seeing. Drive, approach, putt. Drive, approach, putt. But here's the problem. That's not the golf you're actually playing. At least not yet. You're going to hit your driver into the rough. You're going to hit approach shot short. You're going to miss the green. You're going to hit over the green. You're going to hit into a bunker. You're going to leave yourself a 40-yard pitch. And suddenly, you're not playing the hole you imagined. You're playing the hole you actually have in front of you. And that's where the short game becomes so important, because your ability to score isn't determined only by how good your shots are. It's determined by what happens when your shots aren't perfect, like we've talked about before. The difference between hitting and scoring. This is one of the biggest distinctions I want you to understand. There's a difference between hitting golf shots and playing golf. Hitting golf shots is standing on the range, picking a target, and trying to hit the ball there. Playing golf is different. Playing golf means I hit my drive over here. Now what? I missed the green. Now what? I'm 30 yards short of the green. Now what? I have a terrible lie. Now what? That's golf. And the short game is where you learn to answer those questions, because you can have a beautiful golf swing and still have no idea how to score. You can hit the ball 250 yards and still shoot 100. You can hit a perfect 7-iron and then 3-putt. You can miss a green and turn a potential bogey into a double, or you can miss the green, hit a decent chip, 2-putt, and walk away with that bogey. Same bad approach shot, different short game, different score. That's the difference. Why do beginners underestimate the short game? I think there's a few reasons we don't take the short game seriously enough. The first is it's not as exciting. Nobody goes to the range and says, I can't wait to practice 30-yard pitches. Can't wait for it. They want to hit bombs. They want to hit the driver, the big stick. They want to see the ball fly. And I get it. That is fun. I love doing it. But golf doesn't care what's fun on the range. Golf cares what happens when you add up the scorecard. The second reason is that the short game feels like something you should already know. You think it's just a little chip, but then you get over the ball and suddenly you don't know how hard to swing. You don't know where to move your arms. You don't know where to land it. You don't know how much it will roll. You don't know whether to use a wedge or the Texas wedge, a putter. And now you're standing over a shot that's only 20 yards, but somehow it feels harder than your 150-yard approach shot. That's because short game shots require something different. They require control, not just power, not just technique, control. And that's a skill you have to develop. The short game is really about distance control. This is where I want to connect this to concepts we've already talked about in this series. We talked about your distance trust gap, the distance between how far you think you hit a club and how far you actually trust yourself to hit it. We talked about distance profiles, knowing your reliable distances. And we talked about the full bag framework, having a purpose for every club in your bag. All those ideas become even more important around the green, because when you're 20 yards from the green, you don't need to know how far can I hit my lob wedge. You need to know, can I land this ball 5 yards onto the green? Can I land it halfway and let it roll? Can I use my putter? This is a different kind of distance control. You're not asking how far can I hit this club, you're asking how far does the ball need to travel in the air? And then how far will it travel on the ground? That's the short game. And once you start thinking about it that way, it becomes much easier. For example, I carry a bunch of different wedges. I have my pitching wedge, obviously, but I look at that more as an iron. I also have a 54, a 60, and a 69, which is USGA legal. Don't care if it wasn't because I'm not on the tour. But with those clubs, I know the 69 goes real high, has a lot more backspin, isn't going to go as far. The 60 will go pretty high, but have a little bit more roll, less backspin. The 54 is more if I'm trying to land a little further on the green, get some more rollout. So I do those things, I test those things, I take different grips on the club with a 9 o'clock swing to get certain distances. Those are things you can learn. You can teach yourself. You can figure out how your wedges work for you. Stop trying to hit the perfect shot. Here's a mistake I think a lot of beginners and more well-versed golfers make. They think the goal of a chip is to hold it. They see the pin, they imagine the ball rolling towards the hole, and they think, I need to hit this close. But I want you to change that goal. The goal isn't to hit the perfect shot. Your goal is to make your next shot easier. We've said it a million times. That's a huge difference. If you're 30 yards off the green and you can hit a chip that finishes 8 feet away, that's great. But if you hit one that finishes 15 feet away, that's still okay. If you're a beginner, your goal isn't to get every chip within 3 feet. Your goal is to stop turning easy short game shots into disasters. Don't blade it over the green. Don't chunk it 5 yards. Don't leave yourself another impossible shot. Get the ball on the green, get it rolling towards the hole, give yourself a chance. That's how you start improving. Something that I do a ton, I have the Rapsodo MLM2 Pro. It's phenomenal. If you want one, playbetter.com/golfreboot, or check the link down below. You can go to Rapsodo's website and get one for yourself. I'll use target range. I'll use different things where I can practice chipping. I practice chipping and short game more than anything else because I've found, and most people believe it once they really look at it, from 100 yards in, 50 yards in, that's where your score is going to change. And that has changed the way I look at golf, and I can see everything about my shots and look at all the data. So that has changed golf for me. The short game is your recovery system, and this connects directly to the last video. We talked about recovering from bad shots. The short game is where that recovery actually happens. You hit a bad drive, you recover. You hit a bad approach, you recover. You miss the green, you recover. The short game is your recovery system, and that's why I think you should stop thinking of short game practice as something separate from your golf game. It's not. It's what allows you to survive the golf game you're actually playing. Because here's the truth, you're going to miss the greens like we said. The question isn't, can I avoid missing every green? The question is, what happens when I miss? That's the game of golf. There's 3 levels of short game success. I want to give you a simple way to think about your short game. The 3 levels. Level 1, avoid disaster. This is where beginners should start. Don't blade the ball. Don't chunk it. Don't hit it across the green. Just get the ball onto the putting surface. That's a win. Now, level 2, get it reasonably close. Now you're working on distance control. Can you consistently leave yourself a putt that you could realistically make? Can you get your average miss closer? And then level 3, start using the short game strategically. Now you're choosing landing spots. You're thinking about slopes. You're choosing the clubs based on how much the ball will roll. You're controlling trajectory. That's where the short game gets really interesting. But you don't need to start at level 3. Start by becoming reliable, because reliable beats spectacular every time, at least almost. The putter can be a weapon, and this is where I want to say something that might surprise you. If you're a beginner, your putter might be one of the most important clubs in your bag. And I'm not talking about making 20-foot putts. I'm talking about using it from places where other golfers might automatically grab a wedge. If you're just off the green, there's nothing between you and the putting surface. Why not putt? It's often easier, it's more predictable, and it removes variables. And it gives you a chance to get the ball rolling towards the hole. Again, the goal isn't to impress anybody. The goal is to make the next shot easier. If you can eliminate one bad decision, you've already improved. Now, I don't putt from off the green generally. I use my wedges. I've learned how to use them and I practice them. The 50-yard gap. Now let's talk about a distance I think a lot of golfers struggle with. That's 30 to 60 yards. You're not really close enough to chip. You're not really far enough for a full swing. And suddenly you're standing there thinking, what do I do? This is where your distance profile matters. You need to start developing some reliable numbers. Maybe you have a 30-yard shot, 40-yard shot, 50-yard shot, 60-yard shot. You don't need them to be perfect, but you need to start building a reference point. Because when you get onto the course, You don't want to be guessing. You want to say, okay, this is my 50-yard shot, and then make a swing you trust. That's the goal, not perfection, trust. The shot you should practice. If I could give you one short game practice recommendation, it would be this. Stop practicing only the shots you like. Practice the shots you're actually going to face. Take 5 balls, pick a target, give yourself a random distance, maybe 20 yards, hit those 5, then move to 30, then 40, then 50. Change the lie, change the landing spot, change the club, use a different wedge, and start paying attention. Which club do you trust? Which shot feels comfortable? Where do you tend to miss? Do you leave it short? Do you run it long? Do you chunk it? Do you blade it? You're building your own short game distance profile. And once you know that, you can start making better decisions on the course. Your short game changes your full bag. Here's something I don't think golfers realize. The better your short game becomes, the less pressure you put on the rest of your bag. Think about it. If you can get up and down, you don't have to hit the perfect approach. If you know you can chip safely, you don't have to attack every pin. You shouldn't be anyway. Aim for the fat part of the green. If you know you can make a 4-foot putt, you can play more conservatively. Your short game gives you freedom, and this is why the full bag framework isn't just about having 14 clubs. It's about having 14 options. Your driver's an option. Your fairway wood is an option. Your irons are options. Your wedges are options. Your putter's an option. And the better you understand every part of your game, the less you feel like you have to force one particular shot. That's how you start building a complete golf game. The biggest mental shift. Here's the mental shift I want you to make. Stop thinking, I missed the green. Start thinking, now I have a short game shot. That's it. You didn't fail. You just moved to the next part of the game. You hit your drive, you hit your approach. Now you're playing the short game. That's golf. And if you start seeing it that way, you'll start enjoying these shots more. Instead of, I missed the green. You start thinking, okay, what do I have? What's my best option? Where do I want to land it? How much will it roll? Now you're playing golf. You're not just reacting to mistakes, you're managing the hole. The short game can change your expectations. I want to bring this back to something we talked about in the first video, basic expectations. If you're a beginner or you're trying to get better, you don't need to expect yourself to make par. You don't even need to expect yourself to make a bogey every hole. I say that if you shoot bogey golf, you shoot a 90, that's breaking 100. But what you really need, your first goal is to understand the game. Then you want to make fewer disasters. Then you want to turn disasters into bogeys, then bogeys into pars, and eventually maybe pars into some birdies. But you can't skip the process. And the short game is a huge part of the progression because it gives you the ability to turn, I hit a bad shot, into, okay, I can still make this a bogey, or maybe eventually, maybe I can still make par. That's improvement, not hitting the perfect shot every time, recovering better. Your short game challenge. So here's what I want you to do. Next time you practice, don't spend the entire session hitting your driver. We know you're going to hit it, so hit it, get it done with. But then do this. Don't spend the entire session trying to fix your swing. Spend 20 minutes around the green. And here's the challenge. Pick those 3 distances, 20, 40, 60 yards. Hit 5 balls each. And don't worry about making them perfect. Instead, pay attention. What happened? How far did the ball fly? How far does it roll? What club do you trust? Where do you miss? And most importantly, how many of those shots would leave you with a reasonable next shot? That's what you're trying to learn. You're not just trying to learn how to hit a chip. You're learning how to play golf. So if there's one thing I want you to take away from the video, it's this. You don't need to hit every shot perfectly to play better golf. You need to get better at what happens when the shot isn't perfect. And that's why the short game matters. It's not because chipping is more important than your driver. It's not because you should stop practicing your swing. It's because the short game is where you learn how to finish the hole. You will miss greens. You will hit bad approaches. You will hit bad drives. And when you do, you need a game that can survive those mistakes. That's what we're building. A repeatable swing, a reliable tee game, a smart recovery game, and now a short game you can trust. Because the goal isn't to play perfect golf. The goal is to build a game that can handle imperfect golf. And if you can do that, you're going to start seeing something really interesting happen. You're going to hit a bad shot, and instead of thinking, there goes the hole, you're going to think, okay, I still have a chance. And that is when golf starts getting a lot more fun. If you missed the first few videos of the series, check them out. They'll take you through step by step and help fix everything in your golf game. The playlist is popping up now, and it's definitely something to binge on. Don't forget to comment questions down below. We'll work on answering them on our next live. Make sure to subscribe so that we can grow together. Remember, our goal is to help you in 2026 so that we can all play better, have more fun, and love the game again. See you next time.